It's fun. I love this sport. I gave it my all. It's fucking crazy. I had a blast, and thank you to all the fans and everyone.
All right, folks, it's over. Anthony Joshua knocks out Jake Paul in the 6th round of their fight on Netflix.
All that would align with a ring that size, a negative style, as we mentioned. It really comes down to the fan interest. Jake Paul is on a 2-fight stretch coming into this one, which really put his reputation on the line.
Boxing professionals are now reacting to the possibility of Jake Paul stepping away from the sport following his shocking knockout loss to Anthony Joshua. In the aftermath of the defeat, Jake hinted that once he feels he has achieved his goals in boxing, retirement could be on the table. He also revealed ambitions beyond the ring, suggesting a potential transition into the NFL, signaling a dramatic shift in his athletic journey. The comments immediately sparked debate across the boxing world. Many fighters and analysts view the loss to Joshua as a harsh reality check, raising questions about how far Jake can realistically go in boxing's elite ranks. Others believe the knockout may serve as a natural closing chapter to his boxing experiment, especially given the physical risks involved at heavyweight level. Whether Jake Paul chooses to retire now or continue chasing unfinished business, the conversation has clearly shifted. What once centered on spectacle and crossover appeal is now focused on legacy, safety, and whether his future truly lies outside the boxing ring.
I fell after this. Like legitimately just to play like safety and just deck people. No, I swear to God, I'm about to bring hella ratings to whatever team I'm on.
Where would you want to go if you can go to any team?
Shit, the Browns.
So
I can run a 4.34.
He's the fastest man on the planet.
I got hands. I have the size, the power. I can knock people out with one punch. So why can't I play free safety?
Do you think you coming into the NFL would be the equivalent of like when an NFL player says, I'm going to try to box now?
No, because I played football my whole life. At the end of the day, it's coverage, knowing your plays, and then just being fast. And
the boxing world reacted strongly in the aftermath of the fight, with critics and analysts offering blunt assessments of what the knockout means for Jake Paul's future. One former supporter, IB, delivered an explosive reaction online after the shocking finish, declaring that Jake Paul's boxing career was effectively over. In a harsh post, IB claimed the loss exposed Paul completely and suggested there was no path forward at this level of the sport. Former world champion Duke McKenzie also weighed in, focusing on the technical and physical mismatch between the two fighters. McKenzie pointed out just how undersized Jake Paul looked next to Anthony Joshua, explaining that even when Jake attempted to throw punches, he struggled to reach AJ cleanly. According to McKenzie, the difference in size, reach, and positioning made any sustained offense from Jake unrealistic. McKenzie went further, strongly advising Jake Paul to stop pursuing these kinds of matchups. He warned that continuing to face elite heavyweights is not only damaging to Jake's boxing credibility, but potentially dangerous to his long-term health. In McKenzie's view, the fight served as a clear reminder that there are levels in boxing, and Anthony Joshua operates on one Jake Paul simply cannot match.
Jake Paul tried to throw a shot, he would lunge in, jump in, and because he was so short, he'd miss. And then he ended up stumbling over his feet and falling over. Sometimes in that fight, he reminded me of, have you seen that Kung Fu film called The Drunken Master? Except for he wasn't a master. As a Kung Fu guy who walks around and normally kicks people's ass, but he looks drunk all the time. That's what that fight reminded me of. It was such a poor showing from Jake Paul. You know, I mean, it's a well-documented fact. There was a lot of money on the line, and I'm sure you, Max, as I would, and anybody else in the street would fight Anthony Joshua for 75 million. You just would, and the same thing would happen. And even after the fight, now the fight's over, the £75 million.
Reaction to Jake Paul's shocking loss came from all corners of the combat sports world, including former fans and high-profile fighters. One ex-supporter, Chelsea, reacted passionately online, expressing clear relief at the result. She wrote that she rarely comments anymore, but said she was genuinely glad to see Jake Paul lose, suggesting the defeat might finally quiet the constant hype surrounding him. Former UFC champion Michael Bisping also weighed in, offering a blunt and technical breakdown of the fight. Bisping described Anthony Joshua's performance as a masterclass, explaining that Jake Paul was badly hurt by AJ's power from the very beginning. According to Bisping, Joshua's uppercuts and punch combinations were relentless, leaving Jake with no space to escape or reset. Bisping noted that while Jake tried to avoid damage by moving and running, there was simply nowhere to hide. The size, speed, and precision difference was overwhelming. He emphasized that the punishment Jake took, especially to the face, was severe, making it clear that recovery should be the immediate priority before even thinking about another fight. Ultimately, Bisping said the bout exposed Jake Paul's limitations when facing true top-tier opponents. Against an elite heavyweight like Anthony Joshua, the gap in experience, power, and skill was undeniable, and the result reflected that reality in brutal fashion.
In my humble opinion, because I'm a big Anthony Joshua fan. Of course, I've been a supporter for the longest time. A rather lackluster, unmotivated Anthony Joshua that didn't look like he was being particularly nasty, right? Yeah, a lot of the time he was out of range, and okay, it is hard to land a shot on someone that's backing up and moving away the whole time. And there was a lot of times where he had him in the corner and he could have thrown a shot. And sometimes he was telegraphing his shots. And anytime he did go in to throw a punch, as I said before, Jake Paul would shoot in and turn it into a wrestling match. And even when he wasn't shooting in, he was clinching a lot. This is boxing, it's not MMA as we know. The referee should have done a much better job of getting in there and separating them much, much faster. As I say, it was the 6th round. I think it was the 4th round he got dropped twice. In the 5th round he got through it. In the 6th round, caught him with the jab, a glancing right hook. He goes down, and that was that. That was all she wrote, right? I did a live. There was about 9,000 people watching at one point. Nobody was particularly enjoying the matchup. Listen, okay? I respect both men. I respect anyone really that steps into the ring, okay? And certainly going up against Anthony Joshua, that was a tall task, okay? You know, metaphorically and figuratively, right? It was a tall task. It was a big job. It was a tough opponent. It was a mismatch, and it was, right? Jake Paul never worried Anthony Joshua once. He never rung his bell. He never caused any damage. He never had him worried. He never did anything. It wasn't a fight. It was a display of how long can Jake Paul last? Can he run away long enough